Hi Andrea, I'm happy to see these new essays from you today. Good work. Let's take a look and see what you wrote. The graph below presents the car sales of 3 brands in certain European countries. Okay, great. Let's see. The bar chart gives information about the number of cars sold by 3 different producers in some selected European countries in 2018. Overall, BMW sales were relevant in all selected countries with the exception of Belgium. I don't agree with this word. What does that mean, they were relevant? It's the wrong word. It doesn't really carry any meaning. So that should definitely be changed, okay? Okay. Audi sold a considerable number of cars in France, Germany, Poland, and Hungary. Finally, the number of automobiles sold by Ford was relevant in France. Okay. It's... First of all, there's a problem with the word relevant, okay? And then the second problem is this doesn't really feel like an overview. It almost feels like detail, but just without numbers. So I think a nice overview here would have been of the countries in question, Hungary sold the most cars. Okay, that would have been good. Or you could say, generally speaking, BMW was the most sold car among the 3 car companies. Okay, so those are the kinds of things. But when you kind of make lists like this, it doesn't feel like an overview. None of this really feels like an overview to me, okay? Alrighty, oops, hold on. Where am I? Okay, there we go. So, Hungary was a country with the highest number of cars sold, with a total figure of almost 400,000. In this country, all 3 brands considered sold respectively more than 100,000 automobiles. In contrast, Belgium represents the nation with the lowest number of cars bought. In this country, the most popular brand was Ford, with about 85,000 cars sold, and the sales of German trademarks were trivial. All right, that's good. Another word that I really like here is negligible. It's another nice way to say this. France followed Hungary in terms of cars sold. In this country, the total number of cars was slightly more than 300,000, with a small preponderance of BMW, followed by Ford and Audi. All right, that's good. I like that. Finally, in the UK, Germany, Ireland, Holland, and Poland, the total sales were comprised between 200,000 and 250,000, while Belgium and Italy represented the countries where the lowest number of automobiles were sold. Yeah, it should be were sold, because yes, it's number, but it's automobiles. So were sold with 8,500. Huh? Okay, let's see. Belgium and Italy. Okay, that's fine. Maybe what I would have liked here is when you talk about these countries, I mean, was there any, like here, was there any sort of trend that you could have picked up on? I mean, you told me the car sales, the numbers of total car sales, but what about in terms of which cars were popular in those countries? That's a piece of information I would have liked there. But other than that, it's really good. Let's see, 2018, what did you write here? Okay, so what you said here is a really interesting question. Should it be the present perfect? That's a really interesting question. I think, oops, sorry, let me do that again. Okay, I think that, yeah, you could have. Let's see how you could have done it. Hungary has been the country with the highest number of cars sold this year. Okay, all 3 brands considered have sold respectively, etc., etc. Most popular brand is Ford, or has been Ford, you could have also said. So yes, you could have done that. So that's a good point. Of course, if it was 2017, this would be a non-issue. It would be, you know, clearly past tense. But I'm glad you pointed that out. Yeah, you could have done that. But I will say one thing. I think more important than anything is really just consistency. So as long as you're consistent with your tenses and you don't jump around from, say, present perfect and then past, and that's when things get kind of muddled and kind of strange. So, and that shows a lack of control of grammar. So doing it the way you did it, I think, is more than fine, really. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Okay, let's move on to your next essay. Okay, pollution. Great. Pollution represents... Okay, so here you wanted pollution represents an, without the D, increasing and challenging issue of our modern era, especially for cities around the world. Pollution can seriously jeopardize the health of the global environment, affecting the quality of air and water, and this phenomenon has several causes. However, there are numerous feasible solutions for this problem, which should be adopted. Okay, well done. You mentioned that you're going to talk about the problems, you're going to talk about the solution, so great. Let's see, I like this, feasible solutions which should be adopted. That's, you know, very appropriate language, collocations, so nice. Okay, moving on. Among the main causes of pollution, uncontrolled industrial, we don't say an uncontrolled industrialization. You should just remove the article here. So it should be uncontrolled industrialization, and the lack of a strict legislative system should be mentioned. Firstly, both developed and developing countries witnessed a massive increase in the number of industries over the last century. This should be have witnessed, because I'm assuming you mean from the last century up to now, so that should be present perfect, okay? More specifically, most of the companies which own the industries did not spend enough money, energy and money, to implement environmentally friendly systems of waste disposal for their industry. Again, you could have used present perfect here. Okay. Moreover, especially in underdeveloped countries, laws which should regulate the process of industrialization are often lacking or are not strict enough. This has to be fixed. This is the case of China, for example, whose capital city is one of the cities where pollution is less controlled. Okay, so the thing that I wanted to point out is that in this entire paragraph where you're giving all these problems, the only real example you mention is China. And I think here there's definitely, in these sentences over here, there's definitely something missing in terms of support. I did want to see some sort of example, some sort of explanation, some sort of further illustration of what you're talking about. Okay, that was definitely missing for me there. All right, moving on. In order to face the issue of pollution, there is a considerable, this is always awkward, there is a considerable number of feasible options to adopt. Again, when you use number and the thing that number refers to is countable, this should probably be plural. So there are a number of options, or there are a number of solutions to adopt. This is a better choice than single here. There is a number of feasible solutions. One important strategy is to counteract the lack of a legislative system implementing the number of laws which should regulate the industrialization process and the waste disposal systems. What I would like here is maybe how this would help. Okay, so when you give us, when you're doing a problem solution essay, this is a problem I think a lot of people have. It's, basically what students do is they make their solution essay, they make their solution paragraph pretty much like a list, and you don't want to do that. So even though it's even though you're presenting solutions, you do need to develop that paragraph. So every time you offer a solution, you have to explain how or why this would somehow help solve this problem. Okay? Great. So, let's see. Furthermore, governments, you don't need to capitalize governments. Governments should foster the development of those companies which invest part of their income on new technologies aimed to preserve the environment, creating less pollution. Again, back it up. Support it. Okay? It needs to be further illustrated, further explained. Something needs to, you need to develop it a little more. All right? Okay. In conclusion, there are several well-identifiable causes for the, you probably wanted a dash here. Identify causes for the growing issue of pollution, the implementation of new environmentally friendly technologies, and the development Okay. And I'm sorry, I'm just rereading something in this paragraph. I want to make sure that they correspond. All right, so, and the development of a stricter legislative system on pollution are two of the key solutions which every country should foster. Okay, let me see. I don't know if this creates an appropriate collocation. Do we foster solutions? I'm not really sure. That is something I would like to look up to see if they do collocate. And this is actually a good habit for you to get into as well. If you're not sure if certain words go together, one little trick that I like is to pretty much just Google it and, say, for example, foster solutions, and see if you get a lot of responses, like see if there are a lot of results in Google for such a combination, if they are used together. And also see like what those sources are. So if they're reputable sources and it's coming from sites where a good level of English is used, then okay, you can go with it. There are also resources on the internet, as well as a few books out there that talk about collocations, intermediate and advanced collocations. So those are good references to look at as well. Okay, all in all, I'm happy with these. Your level is obviously very good. We already talked about this in the previous correction. So keep up the good work. All right, go ahead, correct them. Send them back to us, your next set of essays. I'm looking forward to it. So good luck with this next set.